We're on the River Trent today, following Wayne Swinscoe through a midweek open match. We're at the beautiful Branston Golf Course section in Burton. Now there's about 30 anglers booked onto the open today, and Wayne has drawn peg 25, which certainly isn't one of the favoured draws. Now the river is also running quite clear and low, so we've made the decision to keep the cameras well back from the edge of the water. Wayne's actually about 50 to 60 yards to my right. Now there's only about 10 minutes of the match remaining, and it's been noticeable how Wayne's had to constantly change tactics to keep in contact with the fish. As soon as the match is finished, we'll go down the bank and we'll let Wayne talk us through how it's gone today. The match is just finished, so Wayne's going to run us through his match. So Wayne, how did you start the match today? I see you that you balled it in.
Yeah, it's not a peg that's been in before very often because it's really shallow and it's normally full of weed, but after the floods in, through last winter, which were devastating around here, it's ripped all the weed out, so they put these pegs in this year. To be fair, there's some fish on them, but they're very awkward to fish. There's like a channel that through the gravel at about 8 to 9 metres, where it's about 3.5 to 4 foot deep at the most, and then it shallows up 13 metres. It wasn't 2 foot deep, so I've decided to fish in the channel on a pole and then feed a waggler line for later on, just in case I needed it. And yeah, I did need it, to be fair. I bowled 6 balls in with quite a bit of hemp and a few casters in, and then I've just loose fed maggots and hemp over the top. Fished a 0.6 Olivet rig with 2 or 3 number 11 droppers, varied it a bit during the day, an 18 hook and then a 20 hook, and to be fair it was a slow start and it never really gained its momentum. I fed the waggler line all day, which is really shallow, barely 3 foot deep, and the sun's been out, very little wind, and to be fair it's been hard to keep the fish coming. I've varied my feeding from hemp and maggots to just a few maggots to 20 maggots and in the end I've just settled for 20 or 30 grains of hemp and 3 or 4 maggots amongst it, and I've managed to string a few fish together. I've had an enjoyable day. I mean, I've had to change the type of wagglers I've been using. I started off with a 3 treble A dumpy waggler with 3 or 4 number 9s down, an 18 Drennan fine match to an 010, and I've ended up fishing a 2 treble A insert waggler with 3 number 9s down, a 20 on 010.
So I noticed that you changed wagglers. You went from a straight peacock to an insert.
Yeah, with the pace of the river it's a bit difficult to see it on camera, but with the pace of the river it is nipping through a bit in shallow. So I've set up a 3 treble A dumpy waggler, dotted it right down and just tripped the bottom in 3 foot of water. But I was missing a few bites on that and I didn't think it was quite right. So I switched to a lighter waggler with an insert, and it was a little bit better, to be fair, but I've never been able to get a real good run of fish together. To be fair, I've missed a lot of bites today. There's a lot of small dace here and the roach aren't particularly big, but when I've been missing bites they haven't been damaging my maggot. When I've caught a fish, it's it's had it properly, and they've been sort of little flick under bites.
So I noticed you were feeding maggots, and then you started putting hemp in your catapult as well and feeding the combination of maggots and hemp.
Yeah, I've just tried to vary it a bit and just see which were best, really. I don't really particularly like feeding loads of hemp on the waggler in the shallow water because I can get preoccupied with it. But you've noticed today all the fish really have been right under your maggots. When you've gone down your peg you've hardly had a bite.
Yeah, I've seen you've constantly been changing depths, shotting patterns. I noticed you went from an 18 to a 20 as well.
I've just tried to make the best of it, and to be fair it's been a hard day. I've enjoyed it. You've seen the scenery in that round here. It's a beautiful stretch of river.
It's a lovely stretch of river.
And it's not deep anywhere. 5 foot is probably as good, 5.5, 6 foot is probably as good as you're going to get, really. But this is exceptionally shallow.
So was you expecting a better start after the initial 6 balls of ground?
Yeah, it's always a bit, you'd expect the amount of fish here, you'd expect a fish in the first 2 or 3 runs down, and I think it was about 20 minutes before I had a bite. And my plan was to fish over that ground bait, just feed hemp and hardly any maggots, because the pace of the river, you can get tempted to feed too much, and if you're not getting it quite right where you feed it, the fish can move out your peg. But I fed a little bit upstream, which I don't really like to do on the pole, to be honest, on any river fishing, but I couldn't get the pole to work very well. Odd bites and odd fish, but nothing brilliant. That's why I went on to the waggler, because I thought it would be a better option today.
I see you've carried on feeding the pole line whilst you fish the waggler, and vice versa. You've kept both lines
Yeah,
going.
you've got to really, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you might just die on the waggler in 3 foot of water. It's not a gimme, the fish are going to be there all day, so you might have had to drop back on the pole line, and you could have had a bit of a spell on the pole, then had to go back out on the waggler, but it never really materialised. That waggler was a lot better option, especially with how the conditions have been brightish and very clear water.
Brilliant, brilliant. So estimations weigh wise, you've got?
I would say 8 to 9 pound.
8 to 9 pounds. I think you've got fractionally more than that, but
well, let's hope so.
We'll see. The scales are just coming along now, so we'll weigh in and we'll see what Wayne weighs. So the results are in. We've got the board from your section, Wayne, and it looks like I was right. £10.2. Well done.
Yeah, it's not been the best of pegs, mate, to be honest. As I said earlier, that this one never used to be in here because it's that shallow and weedy, but I've enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a struggle, really. I've not really put any fish together, really. I've just had them in dribs and drabs. Had a slow start on the pole, then I caught a few, and then I switched to the waggler and I had a little bit of a 4 or 5 fish pretty quick, but nothing, over 10 or 15 minutes. And I've swapped about a bit on the waggler. Started off with a thick top, short, dumpy peacock, 3 treble A, and I was missing a few bites on that, so I thought I'll go to an insert waggler, 2 treble A, and the wind's been allowed you to cast that out and do things all right, but I've still missed a few bites on that. Was
the insert just to see the bites better, get clear indications?
just fish it a little bit off the bottom and just, because the bites were like snatchy, with it so fast, they were like snatchy bites. They weren't like them where you go in and you can read it and all of a sudden it's going, you can just leave it. They were just pulling it straight under,
Brilliant.
And they weren't marking the maggots.
Brilliant. Well, I've watched you continuously mend your line, feed your line, off your reel. The control has just been, it's been impressive to watch.
Yeah, I mean, before the start of the match, before I threaded my rod up, I sprayed me reel with my line with floating line spray, and that was all right for a couple of hours, and then I've had to add, my line started sinking more and more nearer the float, obviously, because your floats, your shots are pulling your line down, but I put some bristle grease up, only about a yard, and that makes it fantastic. You can just flick your rod like that and your float will come up, pop up, only probably a foot away, but sometimes that instigates bites, they see it and they'll go for it. But, I've had to, when you're fishing with a thicker top waggler, you can just let it basically peel off your reel sort of thing, or just give it a little bit, but when you're fishing with a insert waggler off the bottom, you've got to feed your line out, because the pace of the river will just pull your float under.
Yeah.
So you're constantly working it all the time.
Yeah, that control's been impressive to watch today. So you finish up with £10.2. The majority were roach.
Yeah, I've had a few days, couple of little chub, 3 or 4 perch, nothing. Probably 5 ounce of biggest fish, maybe 6 ounce, but I probably had 60 odd fish.
And nearly all on bronze maggot.
Bronze maggot, yeah. Odd one on reds, but just changing it. But I was, to be fair, my bait's been from the weekend, and I think I could have done with a bit fresher maggots, but I tried to get some yesterday. Nobody had got any, because it's a Tuesday. Everybody's got the weekend's bait, you see.
Well, I see you're third on this board.
Yeah.
So let's go back to what the other board and see where you finished overall.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be good news, mate.
Well, it's been a pleasure to watch again, Wayne.
Yeah.
Thanks ever so much, mate.
Brilliant.
See you later.